At 30 kilometres, I retired from ultra running. At 32 kilometres, I was going to keep running. At 35 kilometres, I retired again. I don't have time to train to the standard I want to be able to run in the events like today. I don't want to do events that you can finish by walking, or events that force you to walk because the inclines are so crazy. Yes, my training could have been better in the lead up to the 6 foot track marathon, but it was still okay. Yet I was nowhere near being able to run those mountains. You need to put so much time into your training to be able to do that, and I just don't have it. Welcome everyone to the Running with Heart podcast, episode 1, as we go on a journey of Mission 231 to the Larapinta Trail and the Sonda Monster, part of the West Max Running Festival. That little insert I was reading from was from my journal, my running journal from the 6 foot track marathon, which was run in March 2021. And as indicated today, I retired again from running. And now 6 weeks on, 8 weeks on, I've signed up for my biggest challenge yet, the Sonda Monster, which is running the 231 kilometre Larapinta Trail, starting at Mount Sonda, west of Alice Springs, running 231 kilometres along the trail, finishing at Alice Springs in May 2022. And I'm doing it in support of the Heart Foundation of Australia. So another event for the Heart Foundation. Let's go back to the 6 foot track marathon. I'm going to read you a bit more from that. We're about halfway, or not quite halfway through the course at this point. With heavy soaked packs and wet clothing plastered to our bodies, we started the climb. Up it went. I tried running some of it and then thought perhaps it was best to run smart and conserve some energy, as my running pace probably wasn't much faster, if any, than my walking pace. 5 kilometres of uphill, around the 18 to 19 kilometre mark, Craig told me to go ahead. He preferred to walk majority of the hard inclines and run towards the crest. I would, on some of them, run what I could before having to walk. With still nearly 25 kilometres to go, this could be a long race. I had another gel at 1:50 and then grabbed half a banana around 2:20. There are almost 2 kilometres of steep downhill at the 21 to 23 kilometre mark and a couple of creek crossings. Just further wet feet this time. Past the halfway point at 22.5 kilometres in 2 hours, 34 and 30 seconds. In my head, I started breaking down the race to come, as once again the climb started. At 23 kilometres, it was another 900 metres. I only had half a marathon to go. I can do a half. I've never experienced mountains like these. I don't know what I could compare them to. I was so pleased with my training session where I went from Ridge Street to Willowa Creek and back again, and then back to the creek and then back to the ridge. This included 6 big climbs in less than 4 kilometres. Sadly, that session paled into insignificance when comparing what I was experiencing today. I walked on, hiked. With all those around me, everyone silent, lost in their own thoughts or zone of pain. It reminded me of the Cauldron Born marching in a trance towards the Black Cauldron in Lloyd Alexander's book, or the Disney movie. There was only one way out of this, through this, and it was up. 1 foot in front of another. Then the rain started. I think it was around 3.5 hours. It was, as I'd had a packet of chips at 3:20, and I had to use the empty packet to cover my phone. It was torrential. I had flashbacks to the desert. Surely not. I don't want to go back there. Though, I feel stronger, I tell myself. I think I could handle the wet day now. Maybe I'm going to find out. I've got at least 2 hours to go. Minimum. 2 hours minimum to go. It lasts maybe 20 minutes, the rain. Enough to drench me again. I'm still enjoying it, though. I just wish I could run. Run these hills, but they're unrunnable. I decide I'm going to keep my heart rate around 142. Like I've done in training since the start of the year. Rich Rolls did it in his Ultraman event. Walked even when racing. Kept his heart rate low. The winner is the one who slows down the least, not the fastest, he says. I don't want to win. I just want to finish. I set the goal of 5:30. It's realistic. I won't have to do race anything stupid to still achieve that, but I will have to work. At 31 kilometres, I've got a city to surf to go. To think I've run that in under an hour is amazing at this point. I'm running more as there are more runnable sections. I keep an eye on my heart rate. If it hits 157 to 160, I walk. I let it drop. Then I run again. At 35 kilometres, I've got a 10-kilometre race left. The worst of the climbs are behind me. The time is 4 hours 20. I've got 70 minutes. That's 7 minutes a kilometre. It's doable. Rolling inclines follow, which are still tough after what we've just climbed, but most are runnable. There's 2 big climbs in the state forest section, and on both of these I'm forced to walk with hands on thighs. My posture is terrible walking up the hills. My lower back feels like it may cramp. I stop at the aid station around 39 kilometres and I refill my empty Gatorade bottle with Tailwind. It's emergency use only. I've still got 350 ml of Gatorade in my other bottle. I top up my bladder with water. I don't need to be running out in the last 5 kilometres wishing I had some. I know from experience that even though there is less than 6 kilometres to go and possibly less than 40 minutes of running, the race isn't over. I'm not home yet. I get water thrown over me at the 40.5 kilometre checkpoint. By request. It's freezing. I feel a bit nauseous as I re-enter the forest after crossing the road, so I open up another packet of chips and eat half of them. Then I start running again. I see through the trees up ahead a railway tunnel, a viaduct. However, when I get up to it, there's nothing there. That's weird. Am I close to the wall? I make good progress on some single track, then I spot the Jenolan Caves area lying low in the valley. The finish is closer. The descent begins, a very rocky, rough single track, a cliff wall on one side and a sheer rocky drop on the other to the valley floor, 100+ metres below. I run this section safely, but with some downhill speed. I can sense and I can hear the finish as I run onto the boardwalk and run the final descent into Jenolan village. Feeling comfortable, and I cross the line in 5 hours, 27 minutes, 11 seconds. I'm handed a towel, tied with my medal, and then a goodie bag. I make my way to the recovery zone and find a seat. Take up the offer of a cup of Coke, and then a top-up, and then another. That feels better. I can't believe I've finished. My first official trail marathon, or is it an ultra at 45 k's, even though it's called a marathon. I send Monique a message. I wish she was here to share the moment. No one is allowed at the finish line due to COVID. My legs are gone, my back is aching. I can't believe I've finished. Craig finishes about 10 minutes later, and we have a hill to walk to the car park to his parents and our lift home. I eat a Cliff Bar and the rest of the chips. I drink a bowl of water and what's left of the Gatorade. My legs feel like cramping on the way home. How do I feel? Satisfied. Job done. Proud of the achievement. Annoyed. Those hills weren't runnable. Or were they? This thought I ponder on my way home and my discussion with Monique afterwards. At 30 kilometres, here we go again. At 30 kilometres, I retired from ultra running. At 32 kilometres, I was going to keep running. At 35 kilometres, I retired again. I don't have time to train to the standard I want to be able to run in the events like today. I don't want to do events you can finish by walking. Or events that force you to walk because the inclines are so crazy. Yes, my training could have been better in the lead up to the 6 foot, but it was still okay. Yet I was nowhere near being able to run those mountains. You need to put so much time into your training to be able to do that, and I just don't have it. And my body is just too tired to squeeze more training in. 100 kilometres? I don't need to do it. The thought of having to do another 55 kilometres on top of today, no thank you. I'd rather focus on a Boston qualifier. I've been here before. I think I would be content just training for a half. Imagine that. Long runs would be 2 hours maximum. The thought of that is so exciting and relieving. Even training for just a marathon, you could top off your long run at 3 hours. No need for back-to-back runs. I would surely have more energy and be less tired. There's a huge difference in time commitment between a marathon and 100 kilometre training. So no Hillbilly 100? No. Surf Coast Century? No. No Western States or UTMB qualifying times? No. What about the 231 kilometre Lara Pinta Trail? The Sonder Monster? My Australian Bad Water? No. I love the thought of retiring from ultras and having so much time free and pressure removed from my shoulders. So what about how much I've loved the trails over the past 12 months? What about how much time Monique and myself have put into getting into the bush over the summer? I can still enjoy the trails in the bush. I'm just not doing ultras. I do more bushwalking with Monique. A huge bonus for not running ultras. So what's my plan from here? I'm not 100%, but the Boston Virtual in October is on the goal list. A few weeks off now, they are 2 certainties in the plan. Lots of thinking and praying and listening. How was the race today affected by my anxiety? Or how was my anxiety affected by the race? On the surface, I would say not much. And when I think about it, I do wonder how much it played a part. When I ran off from Craig, it was a big moment, a big step forward on my journey. But it also felt like cutting a safety line, going into the middle of nowhere on my own, so to speak. Yes, there were runners around me, but it was a step way outside my comfort zone. Is that where the heart rate running came in? It was my comfort zone, the walking up the hills. My comfort zone? Viewing the hills as unrunnable. My safety blanket. Keeping myself in my comfort zone. The winners, yes, elite runners, had kilometre splits in the 4 and 5 minute range. Yes, those hills are runnable. The thought of retirement, the stepping back from ultras, keeping myself in my comfort zone, is that what it is? My weight session could have been better. Now I look back at them. More intense, more soreness, definitely more plyos, which means higher heart rate. The weights I did was keeping me in my comfort zone. Not enough time? The time is there. I think it's a comfort zone thing. If I want to continue to move forward on my journey, conquering my anxiety and becoming an overcomer, perhaps I need to pursue ultras. But what is the point in doing that if when in the moment I'm not going to push myself? If I'm going to take the comfort option, it's almost like a double-edged sword. I can't be too critical though. I'm still improving, still moving forward. 12 months ago, it was a big deal for me to line up at the start line of the marathon again. That day, I ran through the countryside of Orange, within myself, but enough to get a PB. 12 months on, today, I run 45 kilometres through wilderness, remote countryside. That's a huge step and one I'm very proud of, regardless of where I go from here. That was on the 14th of March, the 6 Foot Track Marathon. And here we are in June, as I've committed to the Sonda Monster and the mission at 231. And looking back at those words I wrote then, it all comes back to the comfort zone, keeping myself safe and keeping myself comfortable. And that is what has enticed me to take that step forward and pursue such a epic event, the 231 kilometre Sonda Monster, the Larapinta Trail, out in the outback, way outside my comfort zone, at a distance I honestly, at this point in time, what are we, 11 months out from the event, I really don't know if I can finish it, and that's what it's all about. And then to add to that, I want to do something for the Heart Foundation, something epic. That New York experience I had raising money for them and then running the streets of New York is priceless, life-changing. And I've done smaller events since then, but it's time for something big. And by big, we're talking epic. And the Sonda Monster, which I read about late in 2020, and first time I'd heard of it, I Googled it, and thought, interesting, pushed it aside. And again, pushing it aside because of my anxiety that I've dealt with for the last 2 years. And I guess I put it in the too hard basket. But it's been there. It's just been niggling away or whispering away. And slowly, I think God has been talking to me, and I've probably tried to ignore it where I could in fear of where it was taking me. But like a dot to dot, all the dots have been joined. And when you stand back and look at the picture that they've formed, it's the Larapinta Trail. It would keep popping up in magazines. Ultra runners I follow, like Lucy Bartholomew, going and doing it. And you just keep hearing about it. And then, of course, rereading around the time of the 6 Foot Track Marathon, The Rise of the Ultra Runners by Harahan Finn, A Journey to the Edge of Human Endurance. It's very hard to read that without wondering just how far you can actually push yourself if you take yourself outside the comfort zone and you go to that extreme of the edge of human endurance, I guess. And that's what I'm going to do in 11 months' time and in the preparation for it as well. And then, of course, Wild at Heart, the John Eldridge book, which I've read numerous times and still learning from and still completing the workbook from. I recently did the 6 Foot online session they put up, which they had a short video and then some study questions or reflection questions. And the way that spoke to me and the Larapinta adventure, the call of it, and discovering, do I have what it takes and am I willing? Do I want to live a life where I keep myself safe and I don't challenge myself? Or am I willing to step out in a huge adventure knowing I need God with me to complete it. That really led me to making the decision as well. And then it comes back to running with heart and why I run and the opportunity to change people's lives, to get the awareness of the Heart Foundation out there, and the fact that heart disease is still Australia's #1 killer disease, kills more people than any other disease, and that's got to get out there. And as my role as a personal trainer, it just ties in beautifully with working to raise awareness of heart disease and heart health. And that's all about the mission over the next, Mission 231 over the next 11 to 12 months, is not only training to get myself to run 231 kilometers, a 100-kilometer event in there as well, and dealing with my anxiety and my mental health to be able to do that. But it's also about making a difference to people's lives, getting them to understand the importance of health, fitness, activity, being active, hashtag be active, and making a difference there. And at the same time, raising the funds for the Heart Foundation. I've set the goal high, $23,100 is what I want to achieve for the Heart Foundation. And I want to get 231 people to have a heart check in the next 12 months. Get people talking about heart health and heart disease and heart attack. Do you know the signs of a heart attack? Do you know the risk factors of heart disease? Do you have them? What are you doing about them? That's all about the Mission 231. It's not just about me running 231 kilometers. That's the climax of it all. It's all the steps that take place in the meantime. And so over the next 11, 12 months, we'll be doing this weekly podcast, Running with Heart, where we'll look back on my past running journals and races and events and the journey which has led me to this point where I can stand on the edge of the cliff, I guess, or the riverbank, we'll say, the riverbank, and ready to jump to the next stepping stone, which we'll touch on next week as we look further into what the Larapinta Trail involves. But this first episode is all about just looking at the fact that, 2 months ago I was retiring and I was content with retiring from running, ultra running, focus on smaller events, as I said, manageable events, 5K, 10K, half marathon, as opposed to ultra running. And then to look at why 2 months later, here I am doing a podcast as part of Mission 231, having to committed myself to raising money for the Heart Foundation and running the Larapinta Trail in the middle of the Australian outback. And it all comes down to stepping outside my comfort zone. Stop living the life, playing the life of keeping everything safe, having faith, having trust in God and in my health, and leading by example along the way. So welcome to the journey. Welcome to the next 12 months. I hope you enjoy it as much as I'm going to enjoy delivering it and training it and developing and improving myself. Make sure you follow along on the socials at Ant Fitness. At antfitness.au, you'll get some links as well, being my business, but at Running with Heart AU is what you need to follow there, at Running with Heart AU on Instagram, and it'll be on the Facebook as well. So let's do it. It's time to go for a run. Running with Heart every single kilometer. Until next week, run with heart.